DogWorks Radio is sponsored by Alaska Dog Works. Check out their website at alaskadogworks.com.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by First Paw Coffee Company, specializing in private label premium blend coffee. If you're serious about coffee, you should check it out. First Paw Coffee's passion is high-quality, small-batch roasted coffee. They take the extra time to taste and get everything perfect before they release new blends. They aim to bring you a cup of happiness each time you pour yourself some coffee. Find out more at ak.dog/free and enter for a chance to win some First Paw Coffee prizes, a book from our collection, and tote bag. One winner will be selected at random each month. That's ak.dog/free.
It's mid-October in Alaska, and that means that our short autumn season is coming to an end as we prepare for a drop in temps as the termination dust falls on the Chugach Mountains and Hatcher Pass that surround us here in the Mat-Su Valley. Sleeping Lady is pulling on her blanket, and we are getting ready for fall and early winter mushing. So what does that mean for your canine buddy that spends more than 50% of its time indoors?
From First Paw Media, sponsored by Alaska Dog Works Professional Canine Training Center in Anchorage, Alaska. This is DogWorks Radio, committed to families and their dogs to build lifelong and fulfilling relationships. Visit our website at dogworksradio.com. Now, here are your hosts, Robert and Michele Forto.
Hello and welcome to DogWorks Radio. This is your host, Michele Forto, and I'm the lead trainer of Alaska Dog Works. For your canine buddy that spends more than 50% of its time indoors, getting ready for cold weather takes on a different meaning here in Alaska. On today's show, I'm going to discuss the importance of proper shelter, access to water, exercise, and if you choose to have your dog sleep outdoors throughout the winter here, how you can provide better accommodations for your dog. We've all heard of the risks associated with warm weather and leaving pets in hot cars, but cold weather can also pose serious threats to your canine buddy's health and well-being. For those of you that are new to Alaska, it is my hope that this show will shed some light on the potential dangers of the cold weather to certain dog breeds, especially if you and your canine buddy are experiencing your first winter in Alaska. According to the American Veterinary Medical Association, you should consider a winter wellness exam for your canine buddy. This is a preventative care exam. Cold weather may worsen some medical conditions, such as arthritis. Your pet should be examined by a veterinarian at least once a year, and it's a good time as any to get him or her checked out to make sure he's ready and healthy as possible for cold weather. So, you need to know your limits. Just like people, pets' cold tolerance can vary from pet to pet based on their coat, body fat stores, activity level, and health. Be aware of your pet's tolerance for cold weather and adjust accordingly. You will probably need to shorten your dog's walks in very cold weather to protect you both from weather-associated health risks. Arthritic and elderly pets may have more difficulty walking on snow and ice and may be more prone to slipping and falling. Long-haired or thick-coated dogs tend to be more cold tolerant, but are still at risk in cold weather. Short-haired pets feel the cold faster because they have less protection, and short-legged pets may become cold faster because their bellies and bodies are more likely to come in contact with snow-covered ground. Pet with diabetes, heart disease, kidney disease, or hormonal imbalances such as Cushing's disease may have a harder time regulating their body temperature and may be more susceptible to problems from temperature extremes. The same goes for very young and very old pets. If you need help determining your pet's temperature limits, consult your veterinarian. You need to provide some choices. Just like you, pets prefer comfortable sleeping places and may change their location based on their need for more or less warmth. Give them some safe options to allow them to vary sleeping space to adjust their needs. I'll give some more tips and tricks about sleeping choices later in the show. Staying inside. Dogs should be kept inside during cold weather. It's a common belief that dogs are more resistant than people to cold weather because of their fur, but it's untrue. Like people, dogs are susceptible to frostbite and hypothermia and should be kept inside. Longer-haired and thick-coated dog breeds, such as Huskies and other dogs bred for colder climates, are more tolerant of cold weather, but no pet should be left outside for long periods in below freezing weather. Check their paws. Check your dog's paws frequently for signs of cold weather injury or damage, such as cracked paw pads or bleeding. During a walk, a sudden lameness may be due to an injury or may be due to ice accumulation between their toes. You may be able to reduce the chance of ice ball accumulation by clipping the hair between your dog's toes. Play dress up. If your dog has a short coat or seems bothered by the cold, consider a sweater or dog coat. Have several on hand so you can use a dry sweater or coat each time your dog goes outside. Wet sweaters or coats can actually make your dog colder. Some pet owners also use booties to protect their dog's feet. If you choose to use them, make sure they fit properly. Wipe down. During walks, your dog's feet, legs, and belly may pick up de-icers, antifreeze, or other chemicals that could be toxic. When you get back inside, wipe down or wash your pet's feet, legs, and belly to remove these chemicals and reduce the risk that your dog will be poisoned after he licks them off of his feet or fur. Consider using pet-safe de-icers on your property to protect your pets and the others in your neighborhood. Collar and chip. Many pets become lost in winter because snow and ice can hide recognizable scents that might normally help your pet find his or her way back home. Make sure your pet has a well-fitting collar with up-to-date identification and contact information. A microchip is a more permanent means of identification, but it's critical that you keep the registration up to date. I'm also going to add that adding a flashing light or some type of reflection to your dog's collar here in Alaska in the winter is a good idea due to how much darkness we experience. Stay home. Hot cars are a known threat to pets, but cold cars also pose significant risk to your pet's health. You're already familiar with how a car can rapidly cool down in cold weather. It becomes like a refrigerator and can rapidly chill your pet. Pets that are young, old, ill, or thin are particularly susceptible to cold environments and should never be left in cold cars. Limit car travel to only that which is necessary and don't leave your pet unattended in the vehicle, especially if you're leaving that vehicle running here in Alaska like we tend to do while we jet in and out of the store. Leaving a vehicle running can also pose potential problems to your unattended pet. We're going to take a short break here, and I'm going to have you guys listen and learn all about First Paw Coffee.
So earlier, you learned about First Paw Coffee Company. Now I'm going to tell you about its Adventure Mix Blend. First Paw Coffee Company's Adventure Mix Blend is inspired by our sense of adventure and our love of the outdoors. Our new Adventure Mix Blend is a whole bean offering and is a dark roast from South America with French inspiration, featuring smoky raspberry, dark chocolate, and anise flavors. Seek out your next adventure with a cup of bold Adventure Mix. Be sure to go to ak.dog/free and enter to win a bunch of cool prizes. That's ak.dog/free.
I don't know, you guys, that Adventure Mix sounds pretty good. Hopefully you give it a try. Before the break, we talked about cold weather and your canine buddy. If you have any questions or need some suggestions about proper outdoor shelter and winter training courses that we offer, let us know. Here's some more information regarding cold weather and your canine buddy. Let's prevent poisoning. Clean up any antifreeze spills quickly, as even small amounts of antifreeze can be deadly. Make sure your pets don't have access to medication bottles, household chemicals, potentially toxic foods such as onions, xylitol, which is a sugar substitute, and chocolate. Here's another reminder. Raisins and grapes are poisonous to dogs, even those yummy ones covered in yogurt. So keep that in mind. Let's protect our family. Odds are your pets will be spending more time inside during the winter, so it's a good time to make sure your house is properly pet-proofed. Use space heaters with caution around pets because they can burn or they can be knocked over, potentially starting a fire. Check your furnace before the cold weather sets in to make sure it's working efficiently, and install carbon monoxide detectors to keep your entire family safe from harm. If you have a pet bird, make sure its cage is away from drafts. I threw that in there because my mom had a bird that lived in the house with the dogs for 15 years, and the bird would actually trigger our dogs to bark at intruders and the fire trucks when they would go by. So it was actually kind of fun. Let's see. Let's avoid some ice. When walking your dog, stay away from frozen ponds, lakes, and other water. You don't know if the ice will support your dog's weight, and if your dog breaks through the ice, it could be deadly. And if this happens and you instinctively try to save your dog, both of your lives could be in jeopardy. Provide shelter. We don't recommend keeping any pet outside for long periods of time, but if you are unable to keep your dog inside during cold weather, provide him with a warm, solid shelter against wind. Make sure that they have unlimited access to fresh, non-frozen water by changing the water frequently or using a pet-safe heated water bowl. The floor of the shelter should be off of the ground to maximize heat loss into the ground. And the bedding should be thick, dry, and changed regularly to provide a warm, dry environment. The door to the shelter should be positioned away from prevailing winds. Space heaters and heat lamps should be avoided because of the risk of burns or fire. Heated pet mats should also be used with caution because they are still capable of causing burns. I will add to this section later on in the show, so it has more of an Alaska flair for you guys. Recognize problems. If your pet is whining, shivering, seems anxious, slows down or stops moving, seems weak, or starts looking for warm places to burrow, get them back inside quickly because they are showing signs of hypothermia. Frostbite is harder to detect and may not be fully recognized until a few days after the damage is done. If you suspect your pet has hypothermia or frostbite, consult your veterinarian immediately. Be prepared. Cold weather also brings the risks of severe winter weather, blizzards, and power outages. Prepare a disaster emergency kit and include your pet in your plans. Have enough food, water, and medicine, including any prescription medications as well as heartworm and flea and tick preventatives, on hand to get through at least 5 days. Feed well. Keep your pet at a healthy weight throughout the winter. Some pet owners feel that a little extra weight gives their pet some extra protection from cold, but the health risks associated with that extra weight don't make it worth doing. Watch your pet's body condition and keep them in the healthy range. Outdoor pets will require more calories in the winter to generate enough body heat and energy to keep them warm. Talk to your veterinarian about your pet's nutritional needs during cold weather. If you are choosing to have your dog spend time outdoors while you're at work, or if you are choosing to have your dog sleep outdoors, you'll need to make some accommodations so they are comfortable and remain healthy throughout the winter season here in Alaska. Here's a note. I do not recommend that any dog that does not have an undercoat remain outdoors overnight in Alaska. I also will highly recommend that dogs without undercoats have access to get inside your home easily in case they get too cold, or worse, they get wet while you're gone during the day. If your dog is spending 4 hours to even overnight outdoors, you will need to provide them with a dry area, a dog house, water with a heater in the bucket to prevent it freezing. You will also need to increase their food intake so they are able to have enough calories to stave off the colder temps. Inside the doghouse, do not use fabric bedding of any kind. Fabric bedding will become wet and will not be a good insulator for your dog. Using a doghouse with a flat roof and an access door offset to the side will allow for your dog to crawl in and get out of the wind. Place straw in their house. Enough straw so that it appears that you've filled the house with straw that you have fluffed up. The dog will enter and create its own bed. Straw breathes and wicks away moisture from the dog, the air, and even from the house as the dog breathes and causes condensation in its house while resting. Add another pat of straw every time the temp dips another 10 degrees. Here's a rule of thumb that we follow. Straw goes in doghouse at temps from 28 above, and straw is added once the temp begins to drop to 18 above zero. We add straw at 8 degrees. We add 2 pats of straw at every 10 degrees below zero after that. So, and keep this in mind, you guys, this is for our sled dogs that stay outside 365 days a year. This is how we care and control and keep our sled dogs healthy and well during the winter time. They are acclimated to being outside. They don't know how to be inside. But this rule of thumb is a great way to follow. If you have a dog that is spending 4 to 8 hours during the day outside while you're at work, and if you have to have them sleep outside at night, this is how you do it. Do not use heated bedding. Do not use cotton fabrics. Do not use any fabrics whatsoever. The straw is exactly what they need. It is exactly what they want. It's what we use for livestock. It's what we use for dogs that stay outside, and they fare very well with it. Again, remember I said, do not do this with any dog that it does not have an undercoat. Exercising your dog throughout the season is also very important and highly recommended. Maintaining your training routine helps both you and your canine buddy stay fit, sharp, and enhances the bond, especially during the dark winter months here in Alaska. We're going to take a short break here, and when we come back, we're going to learn all about the Alaskan Malamute.
We're living in uncertain times. If there is one thing we can be thankful for, that is the recent pet adoption boom. Shelters are being cleared out, and that means you may not know much about your new best friend. Alaska Dogworks virtual and on-site classes are the best way for you to build a lasting bond and learn about your pup, new or old. From setting up a proper routine to learning the commands and much more, Alaska Dogworks provides you with the resources to develop your dog into one of the best. Right now, Alaska Dogworks has an exclusive offer just for our listeners. Go to alaskadogworks.com now and use promo code DOGWORKS and save 20% off your training program at the time of your booking. Visit alaskadogworks.com and use promo code DOGWORKS to save 20% today. That's alaskadogworks.com and use promo code DOGWORKS at the time of booking.
Okay, guys, let's learn all about the Alaskan Malamute. You know, this summer during COVID, I had the pleasure of training 2 Alaskan Malamutes, and it was a lot of fun. It was challenging, and I have to say I'm very proud of both of their owners for sticking with me and getting through the program. They both have happy, healthy, young dogs that are going to excel. So, The Alaskan Malamute stands 23 to 25 inches at the shoulder and weighs 75 to 85 pounds. Everything about Mals suggests their origin as an Arctic sled dog. The heavy bone, deep chest, powerful shoulders, and dense weatherproof coat all scream, "I work hard for a living." But their almond-shaped brown eyes have an affectionate sparkle, suggesting Mals enjoy snuggling with their humans when the workday is done. Mals are pack animals, and if your family pack, the leader must be you. If a Mal doesn't respect you, he will wind up owning you instead of the other way around. Firm but loving training should begin in early puppyhood. That said, a well-behaved Mal is a joy to be with, playful, gentle, friendly, and great with kids. Let's talk about the history. The Alaskan Malamute is among the oldest of the sled dog breeds of the Arctic. They are believed to be a descendant of the domesticated wolf dogs who accompanied the Paleolithic hunters that crossed the land bridges of the Bering Strait and migrated into North America roughly 4,000 years ago. The breed's name is derived from Malamute, a nomadic Inuit tribe that resided in Kotzebue Sound in northwestern Alaska. I'm not saying this correctly, so I do apologize. The Malamute people developed was primarily a sledge dog, created to work in packs to haul heavy loads at low speeds over long distances. However, they were also used for carrying packs in the summer, locating seal-breathing holes in the ice, and distracting bears on hunts. Other Arctic dog breeds, like the Siberian Husky, pull lighter loads on sleds at faster speeds. Huskies are racers. Malamutes are freighters. The Inuit culture spans from the coasts of Alaska to the coasts of Greenland. Because of this distance, different strains developed in the Malamute breed. The AKC recognized the original Kotzebue strain in 1935. After World War II, the breed's numbers plummeted until there were very few dogs registered. In response, during the late 1940s and 50s, the AKC opened the stud book to include the M, Lute, and Hinman strains as well. Today, the Malamute's gene pool is made up of all three of these strains, with champion Toro of Bras Coupe being the first dog to unite them. Here are some quick facts. Their temperament is affectionate, loyal, and playful. The AKC breed popularity ranks them 58 out of 196. The height in males is 25 inches. In females, it's 23. The males weigh upwards of 85 pounds, although I have seen and owned them male dogs upwards of 110 pounds. Females are approximately 75 pounds. Life expectancy is 10 to 14 years, and they are classified in the working group. Care and training of the Alaskan Malamute should do well on a high-quality dog food, whether commercially manufactured or home-prepared, with your veterinarian supervision and approval. Any diet should be appropriate to the dog's age. Some dogs are prone to getting overweight, so watch your dog's calorie consumption and weight level. Treats can be an important aid in training, but giving too many can cause obesity. Learn about which human foods are safe for dogs and which are not. Check with your vet if you have any concerns about your dog's weight or diet. Clean, fresh water, as always, should be available at all times. The thick, waterproof double coat of the Alaskan Malamute is beautifully adapted to harsh Arctic life, but it requires constant upkeep. A Malamute should be brushed every day with a pin brush and metal comb, all the while checking for mats, which can harbor fungus, and hot spots, which can become infected. Twice a year during shedding season, an undercoat rake should be added to the regimen. Show Malamutes are often bathed weekly, but a pet Malamute can go 6 to 8 weeks between baths. Conditioner can be used in moderation if the coat feels dry. As with all breeds, the Malamute's nails should be trimmed regularly. While the Malamute was not bred for racing, he was bred to work. A strong, athletic dog with tremendous endurance, designed to carry heavy loads. A Mal requires daily exercise. Romping in a well-fenced yard or other enclosed space will suffice, but Malamutes also enjoy hiking, running, and swimming with their owners. And should the owner have sufficient time and interest, Malamutes often take part in agility and obedience trials, weight pulling competitions, backpacking. Yes, you can buy a backpack for your dog. Recreational or competitive sledding and ski joring, pulling a person who is on skis. Remember, you guys, I suggest bike joring for Malamutes as well. Socialization and obedience training are necessary in order to prevent a Malamute from becoming pushy with children and other pets or dominant over adults he or she doesn't respect. Malamutes are highly intelligent but also independent and willful, often to the point of stubbornness. While fairness and patience can yield a devoted, trustworthy companion, there are certain behaviors that may be impossible to train out of a Mal, such as digging, so any yard fencing must continue into the ground. And Malamutes are not especially suited to be guard dogs because they tend to be friendly with everyone they meet. A responsible breeder will screen breeding stock for health conditions such as hip dysplasia, which is a malformation of the hip joint that is the most common skeletal condition in dogs, elbow dysplasia and thrombopathia, chondrodysplasia, which is dwarfism, hypothyroidism, inherited polyneuropathy, von Willebrand's disease, and day blindness. As with all breeds, an Alaskan Malamute's ears should be checked regularly to remove foreign matter and avoid a buildup of wax, and his teeth should be brushed regularly. Would you like to learn more about how to train your Alaskan Malamute to be one of the best trained dogs? Follow us on our social channels. Just search DogWorks Radio. And did you know that DogWorks Radio is much more than a podcast? We are a full-service dog training center here in Alaska, and we work with clients not only up here in the Great White North, but also around the world. As always, check out our website at alaskadogworks.com and be sure to tell your family and friends about our podcast. The best thing you can do to help us out is just share our show on social media. See you next time.
This episode of the podcast is sponsored by First Paw Coffee Company. Learn more at firstpaw.coffee.
From First Paw Media, this is DogWorks Radio. We hope you enjoyed this podcast, and we invite you to subscribe in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. You'll find a link on the episode notes. You can tap or swipe on the episode cover art, and you'll see some offers from our sponsors. You can support our show by supporting them. If you like what you have heard, we would love it if you could give us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe too. Your hosts are Robert and Michele Forto. Our producer is Robert Forto and created for First Paw Media. Did you know that Alaska DogWorks trains service dogs for those in need throughout North America? Each and every service dog that is trained through the Lead Dog Service Dog Program and Michele Forto and her team has an individual training plan. We train for autistic, mobility, psychiatric, and PTSD for our soldiers for service work. If you know of someone that may need a service dog, please take a moment and check out Alaska DogWorks on social media and at alaskadogworks.com.